Hello and welcome. I'm here to talk about Smallville Season 10. What will I be talking about exactly? Every episode so far. And I'll be commenting on each episode in order, so if you catch me pointing out plot holes in earlier episodes that have already been resolved in the later episodes, don't worry, I'm doing that on purpose. Anyway, let's get on with it. Here's the Smallville Season 10 rundown. Episode 1, Lazarus. We pick up from the finale of Season 9, where Clark has fallen, impaled with blue kryptonite, and Lois, who now knows his secret, actually comes to the rescue and pulls the kryptonite out and then hides from him because she doesn't want him to know that she knows. And actually, this is a really interesting development for Lois. One of my biggest problems with the way she's normally handled on the show is, of course, they want her to be spunky and tough, and she makes wisecracks about everything. But the way they normally do it is just by having her spew out catchphrases just for the hell of it. And in this season, everything feels so much more focused. Lois's dialogue has a lot more purpose now, and it feels more natural. I love this whole back and forth thing she has going on with Clark now, where the subtext of pretty much everything she says is, "Yeah, I know who you are, fucker. Now how long before you clue in?" And we also have the reveal of the final costume, which Jor-El then takes away from Clark and tells him, "You cannot be the planet's savior because you doubt yourself like a whiny bitch." We also catch up with Tess, who had half of her face burned off before. But now she's fine thanks to a bunch of Lex Luthor clones. Don't worry, because only two of them actually matter. An older evil one and a younger not evil one. And man, this gets really dark. Like when they actually show the little kid has a chunk missing out of his side. I know it's kinda cheesy, but I admire the fact that they actually went there with that. Also, Green Arrow gets tortured and then traded for Chloe because Allison Mack didn't want to be in most of the episodes this season. And we get a teaser introduction for the season's big bad guy, Darkseid. Overall, this is a great way to start things off. There are a few things that don't make sense, like the sudden unexplained appearance of Jonathan Kent at the end, or how Clark survives falling off of a building without turning into road pudding if the blue kryptonite made him human. But I'm willing to forgive a few mistakes here since the good parts outweigh them by a mile. Episode 2, S.H.I.E.L.D. In this episode, Lois has gone to Egypt to work on a project with Perry White, who is completely absent for some reason. Instead, we find out that Hawkman is there to watch over her. During a conversation, Lois gets a bit too excited while talking about Clark, and Carter figures out that she knows his secret. Hey, bonus points for the character having a brain in his head. Meanwhile, Clark is introduced to a new reporter named Cat Grant. She's anti-superhero vigilanteism, so of course she's played to be as intentionally annoying as possible. Unfortunately, I think the actress plays up that aspect of the character a bit too much, and it ends up working against her, since she is eventually supposed to be revealed as a sympathetic character. And she has a talk with Clark that inspires him to start thinking about going public with his hero identity. And this means we are finally rid of the trench coat. Clark's new outfit includes a red jacket with the S logo formed into the front. We also get formally introduced to some other bad guys this season called the Suicide Squad. This looks to be setting up something really interesting. Episode 3, Supergirl. This episode directly follows the teaser introduction to Darkseid from the premiere, and here's the first real sign that the production might be going wrong this season. From what it looks like here, it seems like they've fallen back on the old pattern of taking the ginormous villain and giving him a human form so that they can technically say the character is there without eating up the special effects budget. The problem here is that this isn't Darkseid. It's the fucking smoke monster from Lost. That doesn't mean he can't be an interesting villain, but he's not Darkseid. And you can save all of your excuses for it right now, okay? I understand they have to work around the character, they have a budget, I understand it's not the comic book. I'm not even talking about if later on they'd show him changing into full Darkseid mode during the finale, and Clark's fighting him in the Superman costume with the John Williams music playing, alright? I'm not even gonna go there right now. I'm talking about this. This right here, okay? With the smoke and the crows and the Lois Lane dressed like Black Cat, alright? This is not Darkseid. I mean, hell, when you get right down to his goals and motivation, he's almost on the same level as the Grinch. His whole plan revolves around corrupting Clark's soul by making him feel bad. Oh, but of course, he can't corrupt Lois Lane because she has a pure heart. I'm sorry, but no. Lois is indeed a good person, but completely pure of spirit, more so than Clark? I call bullshit. Even with all of his daddy issues and self-doubt that he's been dealing with, Clark has always had more of a pure soul than Lois. But let's talk about some good parts here. The actor playing the Grinch here does a good job of making the character interesting enough to carry a scene. And holy hell, after getting ragged on for years, Clark finally gets someone to stop and give him a few pointers on flying. Seriously, after every superpowered character has bitched at Clark for not being able to fly, did it never occur to any of them to just explain to him how to do it? Too bad he only gets one try before Supergirl labels him as a failure yet again, but hey, it's progress. Oh yeah, and the episode ends with Green Arrow ripping off Tony Stark and revealing his superhero identity to the public. This makes Chloe's sacrifice completely pointless, but at least he has the good sense to beat himself up over it. Episode 4, Homecoming. Clark and Lois go to their high school reunion, where Clark meets Brainiac 5, the good Brainiac from the future. They go on a tour of Clark's life, Christmas Carol style, as Clark sees the issues he must overcome in his past and present, as well as a look at what he'll eventually achieve in the future. At one point, he meets up with his future self, who tells him to get up to the roof of the Daily Planet to recreate the helicopter scene from Superman the movie. With his issues resolved and his doubts gone, he finally grows a pair and becomes a real man as he gets Lois to shut her fucking trap for 10 seconds. Already saving us all from Lois Lane's horrible catchphrases, he is truly a Superman indeed. In all seriousness, this was another great episode, but there are a few things that kinda bothered me. First, Brainiac 5 freezes time and takes Clark away right after he gets crowned Homecoming King. The spotlight is on Clark and the whole school is celebrating, but when he mysteriously disappears, only Lois seems to notice anything. Everyone else just keeps cheering. I mean, seriously, what the hell was that about? The other thing that jumped out was the glimpse into the future, as we finally get to see Tom Welling playing a more mature Superman. And man, is he stiff as hell. He almost sounds like Morpheus from The Matrix, and you should know by now that's not a good thing. The thing is, Superman always struck me as being the most approachable of the mainstream superheroes. When he's around people he cares about, he's bright, cheerful, and friendly. But when he's dealing with bad guys, he can also be strong and authoritative and put foot to ass for the sake of justice. In this scene where he's meeting himself from the past, he almost comes off as downright cold. I mean, damn, I just thought he'd be nicer to himself. Episode 5, Isis. Clark finally decides to tell Lois that he's the Blur, but she gets possessed by a villain named Isis. I'm going to chalk most of this episode up as an excuse to show Erica Durance playing a different character, and for the most part, it works. It's just a subtle change of tone, but I honestly didn't expect that voice to come out of her, so good job there. A few things worth noting though. First of all, at the beginning of the episode, we learn that Oliver Queen is hosting an Egyptian exhibit at the museum, but an amulet, one of the prize artifacts vital to the display, has gone missing. At the same time, Lois discovers an amulet from her trip to Egypt mysteriously found its way into her bag. So instead of turning it in, or telling someone about it, or questioning anything about this at all, she decides to wear the thing as part of a costume while attending the museum exhibit. Ugh, this is so stupid it hurts. Also, when Green Arrow shows up to help save Lois, can someone explain to me why he's still changing his voice and wearing sunglasses at night? I have no problem with the costume in general, since that's his uniform when he does his hero business, but why is he still trying to hide his identity after he already told everyone who he is? And finally, at the end, Clark has a chance to come out of the closet to Lois again, but he backs out for no fucking reason. Oh, but he changes his mind again and blurts it out, now everyone's happy. Finally! No, I'm really not even relieved or celebrating at this point, but after taking so long for Clark to make up his mind about this, it's good to just finally get it over with. Episode 6, Harvest. Lois and Clark get trapped in a town that's been infected with blue kryptonite, and it seems that while the kryptonite takes Clark's powers away, prolonged exposure to it has had an almost opposite effect on the town, as the people living there have incredibly advanced immune systems, and the kryptonite also helps their crops grow better. But rather than attribute this to the unique radioactive properties of the kryptonite, the townspeople instead believe it to be a gift from God, and that the only way to continue to reap the benefits of this gift is by offering a human sacrifice every year on the anniversary of the meteor shower that brought the kryptonite to Earth. Really, there's not a whole lot I can say about this episode. It's definitely not one of my favorites. Ultimately, the point is to show that Clark will still find a way to save people even if he doesn't have his powers. But there's only so much you can do with a Village of the Damned story. Yeah, it tries to flesh out the people in this town and even shows the more human side of their culture as they face a sense of ethical conflict from the annual sacrifice business, but in the end, they still come off as a group of crazy people who refuse to accept the idea that kryptonite will still behave like kryptonite even if you don't kill people for it. Meanwhile, we also find out that Tess is raising the young Lex Luthor clone, calling him Alexander, and it seems that not only has he aged several years in the last few weeks, he's retained some of the original Lex's memories. I hate to say it, but this right here is actually more interesting than the main plot for the episode, if only because this actually feels like it's leading into a deeper story that's going to develop later.